in this video, I want to tell you exactly how I was able to save $100,000 by the age of 25. And the crazy thing is that I sort of documented the entire journey unintentionally on this YouTube channel. When I first got started on this YouTube channel, the very first video that I posted was how I saved $20,000 while still being a college student. And looking back on that video, it's crazy how in a little bit over 3 years, with some of the same budgeting and investing approaches, and also taking advantage of some opportunities that I could not have seen coming myself, I was able to quadruple the amount that I had saved, or as I'm going to use interchangeably in this video, invested, so saved or invested by the age of 25. And I'm going to be the first one to say that I believe my journey is very replicable. I haven't done anything special. I have made a lot of mistakes along the way. However, for someone who's really serious about getting started, managing their finances and actually building wealth, my own personal journey may serve as an inspiration for how you plan on building wealth. And I would say that the first thing I did, even when I was back in college, saving my first $1,000, $10,000, or $20,000, was to identify and use my unfair advantages. And this may sound a little hard to follow, but I believe that every single person has some kind of unfair advantage in some form or another. Whether it's the circumstances that you grew up in, whether it's the amount of support that you get from parents or other people, or whether it's the talent or interest that you have inside of you that may differ you from someone else. So I would say that my personal unfair advantage when I was going into college or while I was attending college is that I had the opportunity to be a Division I athlete. And being a Division I athlete does come with a lot of perks, but the main perk that benefited me financially was that I was able to get a full ride 4-year scholarship, and included in that scholarship was cost of living payments. So this basically meant that for 4 years, I didn't have to pay rent, I didn't have to pay a mortgage, and I didn't have to pay tuition. And included in that scholarship for those first 4 years were meal plans, entertainment. The only thing I really needed to spend money on were things that I chose to spend money on. I had all of my necessities covered. And I'll admit that in the beginning, even though I did have all of these expenses covered, I somehow fell into the trap, like many other people, of falling into credit card debt, spending more money than I had because I wanted more things than I could afford. Luckily for me, after my freshman year, I got all of that out of my system, and I ended that year with about $2,000 to $3,000 in credit card debt before I met my girlfriend and eventual wife at the time at the end of my freshman year in college. And fast forward a few years past that, my girlfriend had then become my wife, and while I was still in college and she was working as a full-time teacher, we were basically able to save her whole paycheck for 2 to 3 years to get that first $20,000 saved. But before we fast forward too fast, I think that everyone who is embarking on their personal finance journey will at some point in their life see a day of reckoning. And by day of reckoning, I mean that they will look at their finances, they will look at their situation and be absolutely disgusted by how bad they let it get. For some people, this rock bottom moment may come faster than others, but for me, once I realized that I had over $1,000 on an Amazon credit card that I couldn't pay back and only could afford the minimum payments, I realized that a change needed to happen, and a change needed to happen fast. So wherever you are on your financial journey, I believe that the day of reckoning will be a pivotal point for you to start to transform your life. Everything won't change immediately, but I think that you have to have a point where you look at yourself and say you never want to let your situation get as bad as it already is. And from that point on, that day will serve as your motivation to stay consistent and to keep yourself on track and motivated to reach your financial goals. And for me, after my day of reckoning, when I looked at my financials in complete disgust, one of the first things I did immediately after that was start to educate myself and learn as much as I could about personal finance. This is around the time I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad and some other financial books that I mentioned here on the channel. But having the self-discipline to teach yourself about personal finance will be incredible at the very beginning. You don't have to be a bookworm to learn about personal finance. You honestly can be learning just by watching YouTube videos like this one here and other ones here on the channel. But once you start to educate yourself, you then will be able to form a blueprint of what direction you want to take, what kind of investments you want to take, and what strategy most appeals to your risk profile. When you first get started learning about personal finance and investing, there can be a lot of overwhelming information. You may be thinking, what stocks do I pick? I don't want to lose money. Should I just keep it in savings? And all of these options and all of this analysis can cause you not to do anything at all. And as I talked about on the channel a lot, not doing anything in investing terms may be the worst thing that you can do, because the earlier that you get started investing, the more that compound interest can work in your favor. It's kind of like a snowball. As you push it downhill, the bigger that it will get. But if you never get started in the first place, then your snowball won't have a chance to grow. So once you get started reading and learning about personal finance, what I did and what I recommend every single person watching this video do is to create some kind of budget that allows you to keep track of your spending. You may think that, oh, I know where my money is going, I can see it on my bank statement, but I will argue that until you can actually list out all of your expenses on a monthly basis and see exactly where your money goes, you are always going to be a little bit naive to the fact of where your money actually is going. You may think you only spend $10 to $20 on fast food a month until you create a budget and realize it's over $150 to $200. Or it could be some subscriptions that you didn't know you were still subscribed to that constantly take money out of your bank that you don't notice because it's only $5 to $10 a month. When I got started tracking my expenses in college, I did it in a green notepad that I still have to this day. Nowadays, I use an Excel template, but when I was first getting started, I wrote down every single expense and every single income source that I had on a monthly basis so that I felt a personal level of accountability whenever I spent more money than I needed to or whenever things were off track. I would rebalance this budget every single day. I don't think that you have to be that obsessed with it, but I knew that I never wanted to wake up one day and not have enough money to cover all my bills or to be facing down a credit card bill that I could not afford. Honestly, I think since the day of reckoning, since I paid off all those credit cards, I have not carried a balance over from a credit card from a month-to-month basis since then. I still use credit cards and I still use them heavily, but I make it a priority to pay it back every single month. And at the same time, while you're creating your budget, you want to go ahead and start investing early as possible. You want to open up a brokerage account or open up a Roth IRA and just throw $5 to $10 in that thing a month just so you can become comfortable and familiar with what investing looks like. The earlier that you get started investing and the more money that you put investing in the very beginning will serve you very handsomely at the end. But all of this budgeting and investing talk is really all about building habits. At the end of the day, if you want to save $10,000, $25,000, or $100,000, you want to be saving or investing more than you are spending. You can't be at a net negative on the month if you want to build wealth. You have to build healthy habits of living below your means, because at the end of the day, you want your money to work harder for you than you are working for it. If you wake up every morning and go to work and work for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks just to get a paycheck to pay all of your bills and have nothing left, the only thing that you are working for is for more money. Your money itself is leaving as fast as you get it, and you want to flip the script and then allow your money to start working for you. And to go back to my personal situation, I would say that one of the biggest reasons that led to me and my family saving $100,000 by the age of 25 honestly had nothing to do with things that I could control, but more so taking advantage of the opportunities that came across me. Being on YouTube for a while now, I have learned to be incredibly optimistic about new technologies, about new investment strategies, and overall not sticking to just one principle and constantly trying to learn and expand my knowledge base. And because of this, I was able to document a lot of my journey here on YouTube as a side hustle while working a full-time 9-to-5 the entire time, basically allowing me to save and invest all of the money that is generated from the YouTube channel, from TikTok pages, from Snapchat Spotlight. Every single dollar that basically hasn't been reinvested into making the channel more profitable, I just transfer into personal investment accounts. After I got a big paycheck from Snapchat Spotlight one month, I used that money to buy our family's first home, and after living in that house for 2 years, we moved out and transitioned that house into our first rental property. So now as a family, not only do we have exposure to real estate, but we also have our stock market portfolios, our Roth IRAs, as well as income streams coming in from side hustles while we're both working a full-time 9-to-5 at the same time. So I think that having an entrepreneurial mindset can be very important with saving and investing money, but even if you don't want to go the route of starting your own business, I think that just being open to opportunities can take you a long way in terms of helping your money grow for you. But at the same time, I know that I couldn't do half of this personally if I didn't have a spouse that was on board with me. So honestly, having a spouse that is on the same wavelength as you financially as far as what your goals are will be one of the most impactful steps into building wealth. You can't have one half of the relationship wanting to go on vacations every month and the other half wanting to save every penny. That just isn't very compatible financially. But with that being said, if you found value in this video, then hit that subscribe button, as I do make a lot of videos on how to invest in the stock market, how to save money, how to start side hustles. So if you think you like any of those videos and you want to join the community, then stick around and I'll see you in the next one, guys.